Off Nova Scotia, a ship collision, and by happenstance, on one of the boats, an NBC News camera crew and correspondent Lee McCarthy.
The two Canadian fishing boats collided in a heavy fog. The 164-foot Cape Beaver struck the 120-foot Margaret Jane amidships. The crew of the smaller wooden vessel moved to abandon ship. But when the steel-hulled Cape Beaver, its engines full astern, backed off, the Margaret Jane quickly began sinking. Some of the crew had time to put on life jackets, but others did not. Two fishermen wearing life preservers were pulled down by the sinking boat and did not escape.
All right, get out of here.
As the fishermen floated in the cold Atlantic, others got into the Margaret Jane's life raft. Crewmen from the Cape Beaver used its lifeboat to pick up some survivors and, in this case, helped one victim to stay afloat. There were 18 men aboard the Margaret Jane. 14 of them were rescued by the Cape Beaver. The other 4 are missing and presumed dead.
The will to survive separates those who make it from those who don't. Survivors never give up. Survival begins before you leave the dock. Two documents that prepare you for survival are the station bill and the float plan. The station bill assigns each crewman to a job and a place to go in an emergency. It should be filled out by the skipper and posted in a visible place. A float plan describes your destination, how long you plan to be gone, your communication schedule, and details about your boat, your crew, and your equipment. Now, if you've left a float plan with your shore contact and your expected radio call is alarmingly overdue, the Coast Guard has at least some idea of where to look for you, even if you haven't been able to call for help. The Vessel Safety Manual contains sample station bills and float plans you can easily adapt to your operation. The best equipment is only as good as the people using it. Even experienced hands make mistakes when they have to use unfamiliar gear under stress. Each crewman needs to practice using his vessel's safety equipment. Abandon ship, fire, and man overboard drills should take place at least prior to each season and whenever a major crew change occurs. In an emergency, things happen fast. Your response has to be even faster. No one can tell you exactly how to survive because every emergency is different. But the 7 steps provide guidelines which should help in any crisis. Being aware that you're in danger is obviously the first step, but it's easy to get careless about the hazards of the sea. The responsibility for recognizing danger ultimately rests with the skipper, but he can't be everywhere at once. Crewmen also have to be alert and advise him when they see something that doesn't look right.
Fire in the lazarette!
The sooner you recognize a potential emergency, the more likely you are to survive it.
Mayday, this is the Voyager. I'm taking on water in the engine room, and I need pumps.
What is the source of the danger? What shape is your crew in? And what gear or supplies are there to help you survive? You've got to stand back for a second and look at the whole picture before you try to react. If you're prepared, your survival gear will be ready and your crew will know their jobs. Cold is the killer in the northern latitudes, and you won't last very long without shelter. Your boat is your best shelter as long as you can safely remain aboard. After that, survival suits and the life raft become your best hope. Waiting too long to abandon ship is a mistake that has cost many lives, but so has abandoning too soon. Abandonment is the skipper's decision and means that the boat is no longer as good a shelter as the raft and the suits.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
Rescue depends on alerting somebody who can help you. Your radio is your best signaling device, and you should make a distress call as soon as you recognize that an emergency exists. When you lose radio contact, you have to depend on rescue beacons, flares, strobes, flashlights, dyes, mirrors, whistles, or anything else that attracts attention. A signal is anything that makes you bigger, brighter, or different. You need fresh water to stay alive and to maintain your strength. Take as much fresh water as you can, but never drink salt water, alcohol, or urine. In cold, harsh regions like Alaska, begin drinking right away to help your body cope with the ordeal of survival. In the northern oceans, maintaining your strength is more important than trying to conserve your water supply for the long term. You need high-energy food to maintain strength and your body's ability to generate heat, but water is more important. Don't eat if you don't have water, because digestion robs water from your system. Equipment won't keep you alive if you don't have the will to survive. Play can be a game or a joke, anything that helps maintain your morale. It's easy to die. You've got to want to live if you plan to be a survivor.
Vessel calling Mayday. This is Comstay Kodiak. What is your position, over?
Comstay Kodiak is the Ocean Bounty, 90-foot power scale. We're out in the middle of the Gulf here. The land bearing is 13505.5, 3044.7.1.
Ocean Bounty, this is Comstay Kodiak. What type of survival gear do you have on board, over?
We're getting into the survival suits now, but we're still trying to pump out. We're losing power. We're going to lose this radio shortly. Get a chopper out here, okay? 13504 30450. We're going down.
Making the distress call early is the key to being rescued. Make radio contact as soon as you think you have a problem, and set up a communication schedule to keep someone else advised about your condition. Every crewman should be able to make a Mayday call. To help them, fill out the Distress Communications form from the Vessel Safety Manual before you go to sea and post it near your radio.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is the Voyager, the Voyager, the Voyager. WXZ-331.
Speak slowly, clearly, calmly. Make sure the radio is on. Pick the best channel. VHF Channel 16 and single sideband channel 2182 are the internationally recognized distress frequencies, but you should use whatever channel provides the best chance of being heard. Post the best emergency channel for your area on the radio. Press the microphone button and say, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Mayday is a French word that means help me.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
Give your boat name 3 times, followed by your call sign.
This is the Voyager, the Voyager, the Voyager. WXZ-331.
Describe your position in latitude and longitude, Loran lines, or range and bearing from a known point. If you've got time, give the Coast Guard all 3.
I'm at 56 degrees, 13 minutes north, 147 degrees, 30 minutes west. I repeat, 56 degrees, 13 minutes north, 147 degrees, 30 minutes west. Over.
Each crewman who stands watch should be able to fix the vessel's position quickly and accurately. Position should be logged frequently. Lives have been lost because the distress call included a poor position or no position at all. State the nature of your distress. Rescue units need to know what to expect when they reach the scene.
Mayday, this is the Voyager. We're taking on water in the engine room, and we need pumps. I don't think I can stay ahead of it for more than about another hour.
Give the number of crewmen and describe injuries. Rescue units need to know how many people they're looking for and what kind of shape they're in.
I've got a crew of 4 on board with no injuries.
Estimate the seaworthiness of your boat. Can you control the emergency, or are you getting ready to abandon ship?
Mayday, this is the Voyager. I'm taking on water in the engine room, and I need pumps. I don't think I can stay ahead of the water for more than about another hour.
Describe your boat in a way that will help someone find you. Don't just say you're a fishing boat if you're in the middle of a fleet.
I'm a blue trawler, white trim, 120 feet long, house forward, with a white housetop.
End your call this way.
I'll stand by on 4125. This is Voyager, WXZ 331, over.
Be ready to answer any additional questions the Coast Guard asks you. The radio man's job is to stay in contact with you, even after rescue units are on the way. Now, here's what a distress call ought to sound like.
Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is the Voyager, the Voyager, the Voyager. WXZ 331. I'm at 56 degrees, 13 minutes north, 147 degrees, 30 minutes west. I repeat, 56 degrees, 13 minutes north, 147 degrees, 30 minutes west. Over.
Roger, Voyager. This is ComState Kodiak. How many persons on board? Also, I need a description of your vessel.
Over. Mayday, this is the Voyager. I'm taking on water in the engine room, and I need pumps. I don't think I can stay ahead of the water for much more than about an hour. I've got 4 crewmen on board with no injuries. We're a blue trawler, white trim, 120 feet long, house forward, with a white house top. I'll stand by on 4125. This is Voyager, WXZ 331. Over.
Voyager, this is ComState Kodiak. Roger. At this time, we'd like to set up a 15-minute comm scad every 15 minutes.
Also, there's a C-130 en route your position with pumps on board. Over.
ComState Kodiak, this is Voyager, Roger. I'll contact you every 15 minutes this frequency. This is the Voyager, WXZ 331, out.
Cold is the greatest killer in the northern latitudes, and shelter is the key to survival. Now, adequate shelter must provide flotation and insulation. The only way to ensure that you'll have flotation when you need it is to wear it all the time. Without it, even good swimmers will have difficulty staying afloat in cold water. There are lots of flotation devices on the market that are comfortable enough to wear on deck. Unfortunately, fishermen rarely wear life jackets, float coats, or inflatables. No one ever thinks he's going to wind up over the side. Fishing vessels are required to carry either Type 1 personal flotation devices or Coast Guard approved survival suits for each member of the crew. It's simple common sense to wear some sort of flotation, especially in heavy seas, at night, or during dangerous operations, like descending the stern ramp of a trawler. It's your decision. Just keep in mind that your survival probably depends on it if you fall overboard in cold water. If an inflatable is all you'll wear it. Insulation is also crucial. In Alaskan waters, the cold will rob your strength so fast that your ability to swim or tread water is probably measured in minutes. Even with flotation, the Northern Sea will quickly kill someone who lacks insulation. The most important areas to insulate are the body's critical heat loss areas: the head, neck, face, armpits, groin, and sides. Never get wet if you don't have to. Your body loses heat 25 times faster in water than in air. If you must abandon ship, try to board the raft directly without going into the water. Your clothing is a vital form of insulation, and fabrics like wool or polypropylene are much better than cotton. Wear a watch cap to protect your head whenever you might be exposed to danger. Your head is the source of 50% of your body's heat loss. If you fall in accidentally, the initial cold shock could be disabling. Layers of clothing and a waterproof outer layer like a work suit or foul weather gear will help reduce the shock effect. If you're able to float, relax. Assume the heat escape lessening posture, or help position, and let the boat come to you. Keep your eye on the boat and use any means you can to signal your whereabouts. If you're about to be picked up and you have enough flotation to keep your head and neck out of the water, don't swim. Swimming causes maximum heat loss because of the flushing action of the water against the body's critical heat loss areas. If you have to try and reach shore, paddle backwards with a minimum of movement to maximize insulation of the primary heat loss areas. The keys to survival in cold water are exactly the opposite of the natural tendency to struggle mightily to save yourself. Every member of the crew who fishes in cold regions needs a Coast Guard-approved immersion suit. Each suit should be marked with your name and the name of your vessel, and it should be outfitted with reflective patches on the head and shoulders. It should be fitted with a whistle and a signal light. And there should be a lanyard on the zipper that's long enough for you to grab easily with your gloves on. Now, while you're at sea, your suit is your most valuable piece of survival gear. It's your responsibility to maintain it, inspect it, test it, and be sure that it's stowed near emergency stations or working decks where you can get it the moment you need it. Test your suit on deck before you go to sea. If you can, test it in the water. Make sure it forms a tight seal around the face and keeps you dry. After an in-the-water test, rinse it with fresh water. Dry it inside out, then turn it right side out and dry it again. It must be completely dry before you stow it in the bag. Inspect your suit regularly during the season. Corroded zippers should be repaired or replaced immediately. Lubricate the zipper with paraffin after each inspection. Look for leaks or rips in the fabric. Inspect the stitching and gluing along each seam, and test the inflation pillow and mouth tube. Don't overlook even the smallest defect. Fold the suit so it's ready for immediate use. Deflate the inflation pillow, pull the zipper all the way down, and fold the face flap out of the way. Begin folding at the feet. Pull the hood down and fold the arms across the bundle. Close all snaps on the bag for maximum protection of the suit. If there's enough room, stowage in the wheelhouse or a dry compartment accessible from the deck would be best. Get into your suit on deck or in the shelter of an opening that leads immediately to the deck. If you put it on inside, you could be trapped in a sudden capsize. To eject the suit, simply hold the bag upside down and thrust it sharply downward. Leave your clothes on. Grab extra clothes on if you've got time. You should be able to get into your survival suit and be ready to abandon ship in 60 seconds. On a rolling deck, sit down and put the suit on like a child's pajamas. Put on the legs, arms, and hood before you zip the zipper. Arch your back to remove wrinkles in the fabric as you zip, and close the face flap before you enter the water. Most suits give you very little use of your hands. A good technique for early preparation is to put your feet in the legs and tie the arms around your waist. Before you abandon ship, throw everything that floats into the water. Throw buoys, drums, planks, plastic bottles, coolers, anything that will help keep you afloat and help mark your position. Remember, something that makes you bigger is a signal. Don't get wet if you can help it, even in a survival suit. Try to board the raft directly. If you have to enter the water, jump from the lowest possible point. Jump sideways, protect your head with your inboard arm, and cover your face with your other hand to minimize the cold shock. Cross your legs as you hit the water in case there is floating debris that could injure you. Inflate the pillow to give yourself extra buoyancy. Unless you're caught in the rigging, a sinking boat won't pull you down. That's a myth. If there's any chance you can reboard or crawl atop the overturned hull, stay near the boat. Use anything that floats to get your body out of the water. Even if you're exposed to wind and spray, your survival time will be longer in the air than in the water. If there are other survivors, huddle together using buddy cords if you have them. In a group, there will be less heat loss, your morale will be better, and you'll be easier to spot. Try to remain calm and conserve energy as you review the 7 steps and plan your next move. Abandoning ship is the skipper's decision and no one else's. It's a crucial mistake to wait too long. But abandoning ship too soon has also cost many lives. Remember, your boat is your best shelter in all but the most extreme circumstances. The decision to abandon means that the life raft and your immersion suits have become better shelter than the boat. The combination of a survival suit and inflatable life raft makes your chances of survival today far greater than ever before. But even the best equipment won't keep you alive if you don't know how to use it. Each crewman should understand the operation of the life raft and be aware of the equipment it contains. Ask your life raft service facility to conduct a demonstration for your crew during annual maintenance. If they're not happy to do it, find another facility. The canister should be stowed on a cradle with easy access, where it is able to float free if the vessel sinks suddenly. It must be stowed clear of rigging or superstructures that could interfere with a float-free launch. The canister should be held in place by a hydrostatic release designed to be triggered by water pressure if the vessel sinks suddenly. Never use extra tie-downs that could interfere with the raft's ability to float free. As soon as the canister is installed, fasten the painter securely to the vessel and keep it fastened whenever you're at sea. The painter includes a weak link designed to break during a float-free launch. If the vessel sinks suddenly, water pressure activates the hydrostatic release at a depth of about 15 feet, and the raft floats to the surface. The sinking vessel pulls the painter out to its full length and activates the inflation. Then the weak link parts. Your chances are much better if you're able to launch the raft manually. Try to launch the raft before the emergency becomes a crisis. Break the weak link and tie the painter securely to a fast point.
Okay, Stu.
Detach the hydrostatic release. Throw it over the lee rail so it won't be damaged by colliding with the vessel. Pull the painter out to its full length to activate the inflation. Wait 15 to 20 seconds for full inflation with the canopy erect before boarding. Your raft will probably overinflate and you'll hear the sound of air escaping through pressure relief valves. This doesn't mean that the raft is leaking, and the sound should cease as soon as the CO2 cylinder is empty. The painter on a Coast Guard-approved raft is 100 feet long. In most cases, you should shorten it and tie the raft close to the lee rail for boarding. Just be sure to maintain control over the painter. You won't be able to swim fast enough to catch the raft if you lose it. If you can, board the raft directly without getting wet. Attempting to stay dry is the first rule of survival. If the distance is short, step or jump directly into the canopy. You may be able to use a ladder, net, or line. If the height is more than a few feet, don't jump onto the canopy, or you may injure yourself or damage the raft. If you have to enter the water, do it as close to the raft as possible and hold on to the painter. It's impossible to swim well in a survival suit, and you may be swept beyond the raft unless you have the painter to pull on. If the raft is inverted, use the righting strap on the bottom. Right it from the cylinder side, where it says, "Right here," or the cylinder may injure you. Boarding the raft from the water can be difficult. You may have to bob down and use the buoyancy of your suit. Once you're inside, help others get aboard. Use the heaving line stowed near the canopy entrance to help your crewmates reach the raft. Use the heaving line as a safety line if you have to swim to help another crewman. Don't cut the painter if you don't have to. You may be able to reboard. A damaged vessel that doesn't threaten the raft provides a sea anchor that keeps you close to your last reported position, and it makes a better search target than you do. When the vessel represents a danger to the raft, cut the painter with the safety knife stowed near the entrance. If the raft has been punctured, use the patch kit from the equipment pack. Close the hole with the patching clamps, then use the hand pump to reinflate the raft. A drogue or sea anchor should deploy automatically as the raft inflates. A life raft drifts extremely rapidly, and you want to stay close to your last reported position. Check the drogue. There's a spare in the equipment pack if the first one fails. The equipment pack contains anti-seasickness pills. Take them. The pitching and rolling of a life raft makes everybody sick. Establish a chain of command and set watches. Keep a lookout at the canopy entrance and assign other crewmen to inspect the raft for damage, bail or pump out water, treat injuries, and inventory equipment. Boosting morale is a critical part of the leader's job. Remember the play step. Displaying the equipment pack shows the crew that you have the resources to survive. Giving them jobs is another way to focus their minds, but don't waste their energy. Help them to remain calm. A panicked crewman threatens the group. If there's more than one raft in the water, tie them together. You'll have more resources as a group, morale will be better, and you'll make a bigger search target. It's up to you to be sure the raft contains the equipment you need. If you operate more than 20 miles offshore or in remote locations, you need an ocean service pack. For nearshore operations, you can substitute a limited service pack that contains no food or water. You've got to know your raft before you go to sea. Rescue depends on alerting someone that you're in trouble. EPIRBs, or Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacons, are vital, and they're required on commercial fishing vessels, including processors and tenders operating beyond the 3-mile territorial waters. Now, unless owners purchased and installed an older Class A EPIRB prior to October 3rd, 1988, these vessels must carry the new 406 megahertz FCC-approved Category 1 EPIRB. The Coast Guard recommends that you have another EPIRB packed in your life raft. Be sure you know how your unit works.
EPIRBs are available in a variety of categories and classes. The Category 1 and Category 2 EPIRBs operate on 406 and 121.5 megahertz. The Category 1 is designed to float free and automatically activate. The Category 2 is manually activated. Class A, B, and S EPIRBs operate on 121.5 and 243 megahertz. The Class A is designed to float free and automatically activate. The Class B EPIRB is manually activated. And the Class S, designed for life rafts. All EPIRBs manufactured after October 1st, 1988 will alert the satellites
and have 121.5 as a homing beacon. The new distress-dedicated 406 MHz EPIRBs have the added advantages of a unique coded signal for each vessel, plus improved location accuracy, capable of fixing the position of your vessel within 5 nautical miles. They also have global coverage, a visual signal, and improved release systems. As a result, search and rescue forces can quickly recognize your distress call and respond immediately.
EPIRBs, as with all safety equipment, need regular inspections and testing. The master of a commercial fishing vessel is required to test each EPIRB on board after installation, and at least monthly thereafter. Visual distress signals are anything that makes you bigger, brighter, or different. To make yourself bigger, stay with the boat, tie your rafts together, huddle in a group, and collect debris. Throw everything that floats over the side before you abandon ship. The debris will make you bigger and help you float. By yourself, you make an extremely small search target. You need to give rescue units lots of help. Pyrotechnic flares and rockets make you brighter. They're included in Coast Guard-approved life rafts. But fishing vessels that work in offshore or remote locations should carry commercial-grade hand flares and parachute rockets on the bridge. Commercial-grade pyrotechnics are much brighter than the recreational type. Don't waste your pyrotechnics. Ignite a hand flare only when you hear or see a rescue unit. Rocket flares can be seen much farther, but don't use them unless you have reason to believe there is a rescue unit within viewing range. Pyrotechnics should be treated as firearms and launched carefully. Hold them downwind at arm's length and look away. Never fire a rocket at a rescue unit that is close at hand. Orange smoke is a daylight signal that makes you bigger and different. Smoke canisters can be thrown to mark a man overboard. A mirror is the brightest daytime signal, and you can make one out of any reflective material. Dyes and distress flags are other daytime signals. Strobes are the most effective signal lights. Build 3 beach fires so pilots won't think you're camping. Noise makes you different. You can blow a whistle louder than you can shout. A canned air horn is even louder. Make sure signals are part of your inventory. Then, put your imagination to work to utilize every means of making yourself bigger, brighter, or different.
Each crew member can give himself an extra margin of hope by assembling a personal survival kit and stowing it with his survival suit. Start with a waterproof bag like those used by kayakers. First, add your shelter, a wool watch cap, a space blanket, plastic garbage bags. Next, add some extra signaling devices, some flares, meteors, or a rocket. Add a whistle, a signal mirror, a strobe light, and a flashlight. If your budget can afford it, add an EPIRB and a handheld radio. Take along some extra drinking water and a portable water container. Some emergency food supplies. And if you need it, don't forget to take along some extra prescription medicine, as well as seasickness pills. Add a first aid kit. Some extra cord. A folding knife. Some heavy-duty aluminum foil. And maybe even a fishing kit. Once we get to the beach, we'll have to start a fire. You take along some waterproof matches, a lighter, some fire starter, and some candles. Also, if you need them, take along an extra set of contact lenses or glasses. And a final touch, add a nice small survival handbook. What you pack in your personal survival kit depends on where you fish, your personal condition, and keep in mind throughout the 7 steps to survival.
There's one rule that guarantees your chances of surviving a man overboard accident. Don't be the man in the water. Even a few minutes of exposure to the Northern Ocean can disable a crewman who lacks flotation and insulation.
If you fall overboard in cold water, your chances depend on what you're wearing and how fast your crewmates can turn the boat around and pick you up. Flotation is the key. Without it, your ability to swim in extremely cold water is measured in minutes. If you're unconscious or injured, you don't have a chance. Nobody plans to fall overboard. The only way to be sure you'll have flotation when you need it is to wear it all the time. Your vessel should also have ring buoys positioned near each working area and open deck, so they can be thrown to a man in the water before he's out of heaving range. At least one of the ring buoys should be fitted with a signal light and buoyant heaving line. Keep orange smoke signals in accessible locations so they can be thrown to mark the victim's position. A simple throw bag enables you to heave a line much farther than you could heave the line by itself. Because the regulations governing fishing vessels are minimal, it's up to each vessel owner and his crew to choose flotation equipment and signaling devices that fit their mode of operation. The man in the water must try to minimize heat loss at all costs. If there's any source of buoyancy available, use it to get your head, neck, and torso out of the water. Water robs body heat 25 times faster than air. If you have flotation, don't swim if rescue is close at hand. Assume the help position. Stay calm and let the boat come to you. The crewmen on deck must do several jobs at once.
Hey, skipper, get!
Shout the alarm. Tell the skipper what side he's on. Throw him anything that floats.
You guys see me?
Throw signals to mark his position.
Right around corner.
Keep the victim in sight. One crewman should do nothing but watch the victim and point to guide the skipper. Get the fishing gear aboard or cut it free. Get ready for pickup.
Go ahead.
A rescue swimmer should put on a survival suit and safety line.
Hey, see him back there?
He's right back there. Go!
Prepare a means of lifting. An unconscious or helpless victim will be extremely heavy.
So we can get you with the crane.
The skipper also has several jobs. Throw the helm hard over. Swing the stern away from the man. Punch the HERE key on the Loran C receiver to make a waypoint.
Ocean Roamer, Brad.
Alert nearby vessels by radio.
Give me a hand.
There he is, coming up on the
Return to
bow.
the spot by the fastest possible means.
There he is! Right off the quarter now! It's cold!
Make your approach to weather to maintain steerage. Form a lee, beam to the wind, with the vessel upwind of the victim. Use full rudder to swing the stern away from the man. Keep him forward of the propellers. Take all way off and stop the shaft. Treat the victim for hypothermia until his body core temperature returns to normal. He may argue that he's fine, but treat him anyway. If he's severely hypothermic, or if you're unsure of his condition, call the Coast Guard and request medical advice.
Fishing vessels must respond to distress calls when they're in a position to give search and rescue assistance. Now, if you're called upon to assist, maintain a continuous listening watch on the distress frequency and advise the Coast Guard of your position and your estimated time of arrival on the scene. If there's a Coast Guard unit nearby, it will assume the role of on-scene commander, and you should follow instructions until you're released from your duty to assist.
On your way to the scene, fix a means of retrieving survivors from the water. Use radar in searching for the casualty, as well as any radio direction finding equipment capable of locating transmissions from an EPIRB. An EPIRB sounds like this. Be prepared to treat survivors for medical problems, including hypothermia. Fixed-wing aircraft can drop equipment to vessels in distress and fix the position of the casualty. Keep in mind that helicopters have maximum ranges of from 50 to 300 nautical miles, and that rescue operations place flight crews in danger. Never request an evacuation unless you have a serious emergency. When it supplies equipment, the helicopter normally hovers over a cleared space on deck and lowers the gear with its winch cable. For evacuations, a helicopter may lower a member of its own crew to assist. There are several types of lifting gear. Put on a rescue sling like a coat. An injury victim should be tagged to indicate his condition, what kind of medication he's been given, and when the medication was administered. Send his medical history if you have a copy. A rescue basket doesn't require any special procedures. Climb in, remain seated, and hold on. Don't try to get into the helicopter until the crew tells you to. Just sit there until you're inside and they give you instructions. Clear a section of the deck as a pickup area. Make sure it's clear of rigging, booms, wires, and loose gear. Be prepared to move the pickup area or alter course and speed if the pilot instructs you to. Make sure you're wearing life jackets or survival suits.
1418 the Viking.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, we're on course.
Try to make radio contact with the helicopter. The pilot needs information on your position, course, and speed, and prevailing weather conditions prior to his arrival. Once he's on scene, follow his instructions. If you don't have radio contact, use hand signals. Do not hoist. Arms extended horizontally, fingers clenched, thumbs down. Hoist. Arms raised above the horizontal, thumbs up. Let a metal part of the lifting device touch the deck to eliminate the static electric shock before you touch it. If there's a trail line attached to the lifting device, use it to guide the basket or litter to the deck. The trail line won't cause a shock. The will to survive separates those who make it from those who don't. Preparation begins before you leave the dock. Make sure you've got the equipment you need and that your crew knows how to use it. Conduct emergency drills. Remember the 7 steps. Recognition, inventory, shelter, signals, water, food, play. Make the distress call early. Dress for survival. You need flotation and insulation. Stay with the vessel as long as you can. Stay dry. A signal is anything that makes you bigger, brighter, or different. Remember the play step. Keep your morale high. Survivors never give up.